From the rugged shoreline cliffs of North America's most easterly point to the spectacular fjords of Gros Morne, Newfoundland and Labrador serves up inspiring scenery unrivaled anywhere. It is a place where there are more wildlife than people, more wilderness than roads, and a culture largely unchanged for hundreds of years, in part due to the island's isolation. Commonly referred to as the Rock, it's home to Canada's first English settlement, a place that takes you back in time, and a place where often it feels like time stands still. From St. John's, the oldest city in North America, to Little Paradise with a population of just 2, Newfoundland thrives in uniqueness, and where the people are its greatest asset. There are many ways to explore Newfoundland and Labrador, but none more intimate than when traveling by motorcycle and hiking through the many fishing villages and backcountry wilderness areas. So come join us as we explore the Rock on 2. That's 2 wheels and 2 feet. We will introduce you to the legendary George Street in downtown St. John's and take you on a 16-kilometer hike to the summit of Gros Morne Mountain. Let us guide you in and out of every bay around this island. So let's get this 2-wheel journey started. We start our Newfoundland and Labrador tour here at Cape Spear, North America's most easterly point and some 3,500 kilometers from Europe. The St. John's Harbor in the distance would look the same today as it did to Sir Humphrey Gilbert in 1583 when chartered by England to proclaim its ownership. St. John's, Newfoundland became the first English possession in the New World and is the oldest city in North America. A short distance from Cape Spear is downtown St. John's, and as we ride through, it is quite evident that the old world charm remains here. Its architecture is free from the modern glass towers found in other cities throughout North America. St. John's, though, is a modern city, a city with 5-star hotels, shops, and fine dining restaurants. Once known for its rich and lucrative fishery, Newfoundland continues to receive much of its wealth from the sea. But today, it is the oil and gas deposits offshore that is providing much of the province's wealth. One of the most visited sites in St. John's is Signal Hill. Due to its strategic location, Signal Hill has been home to many fortifications since the mid-17th century. Signal Hill's first purpose was for signaling to the town when a ship would enter its harbor. The signalman would raise various flags that represent and indicate the origin of the ship entering the Narrows. From these signals, the guardsmen would determine whether cannon fire would be warranted. Today, the Cabot Tower ceremoniously stands guard above the entrance to St. John's Harbor. The tower was completed in 1900 to commemorate the 400th anniversary of John Cabot's discovery of Newfoundland in 1497. In 1901, Marconi received the first transatlantic wireless message at a point near the tower, the letter S in Morse code from Poldhu, Cornwall in the United Kingdom. Today, St. John's is the largest city in Newfoundland and Labrador and serves as its capital. Although Newfoundland was England's first possession in the New World, it is Canada's newest province, only joining Confederation in 1949. There are a great many people born here that were not born Canadian, but rather as British subjects. There remains to this day an ongoing debate as to whether Newfoundland and Labrador should have joined the Canadian Federation in 1949. Although St. John's has a great deal of historic significance, it is more commonly known today for its nightlife and traditional music scene. George Street, a street of just 2 short blocks in length, has more bars and pubs per square foot than any other city in North America. During the annual six-day George Street Festival, more than 120,000 people make their way through the streets and converge on as many pubs. From its renowned colorful row housing in the downtown core, the majestic merchant homes on Circular Road, to the now sprawling suburbs reaching out to the bordering towns, St. John's continues to evolve while maintaining its special charm. The recognition of this rich history and the hospitality of its people is what makes St. John's so endearing. As we ride out of St. John's and into the Conception Bay South area, the cityscape once again changes to seaside communities. Like all seaside communities, their existence began with the fishery, but today its reliance to the industry is far less evident. The entire Avalon region today is enjoying the success of the oil and gas and mining industry, a far cry from days gone by. There's a certain nostalgia riding in the Conception Bay area of Newfoundland and Labrador. It surfaces when you realize that people from Europe began colonizing the New World right where two wheels meet the road here in Cupids, Newfoundland. Cupids was established in 1610 by John Guy under charter by King James I to establish a colony on the island of Newfoundland. It was the first English colony in Canada and second in North America only to Jamestown, Virginia, which was colonized in 1607. It was in 1995 when archaeologist Bill Gilbert uncovered the colony of Cupids, a cellar pit measuring 20 feet wide and 7 feet deep. The thick base layers of the cellar stone walls are clearly visible on the site today and provide a telling window of the domestic life in the frontier of 1610. Establishing this crucial structure enabled the settlers to concentrate on the construction of two additional buildings, one of which was the homestead. Leaving the 1600s, we now find ourselves in Brigus, Newfoundland, an early 20th century Arctic exploration. Brigus was the birthplace and home to Captain Bob Bartlett, the famous Arctic explorer. Although Robert Peary is credited as being the first to reach the North Pole, it could not have been accomplished without the seafaring skills of Captain Bartlett. Truth is, there was no recorded proof of Peary reaching the North Pole, and thus the recorded latitude of 87 degrees 48 minutes in the spring of 1909 by Captain Bartlett was, at the time, the furthest north by any other human being. Here in Brigus, they continue to celebrate the life of Captain Bartlett, and in doing so help keep his legacy alive. Riding through Brigus is like returning to those early days of the 20th century, and Hawthorne Cottage, the home of Bob Bartlett, still stands as the town's most famous site. This beautiful historic town is one of those places that will have you returning time after time. It was here in Brigus where Wanda and I decided to leave the two wheels behind for our first of many hiking excursions. The Brigus Lighthouse Trail follows the rugged coastline to the point and takes about 3.5 hours to complete.
Down there, it's not that steep, and there's lots of rocks you put your feet on, right?
The scenery on this beautiful sunny summer day was spectacular. The trail challenged you at times, But as our eyes and minds are drawn to the sea, you can't help but think about those early 20th century Arctic expeditions of Captain Bartlett and the challenges they would have endured in their quest for the North Pole. It's back in the saddle again and more riding in the Conception Bay North and Trinity Bay area. The communities in this area of Newfoundland and Labrador are absolutely breathtaking. Here is just a small sample of some of the communities we visited in this area of the province. A motorcycle tour of this province would not be complete without spending some time in this area of the Avalon Peninsula. Another day, another destination, and today our motorcycle journey will take us to the Southern Avalon, more commonly referred to as the Cape Shore. One of the first communities that we arrive in is the town of Placentia. In 1655, the French, who controlled more than half the island of Newfoundland and most of Atlantic Canada, made Placentia their capital. The French colony at Placentia was a successful one and launched from here at Port Royal the devastating raids on the English during the Avalon Peninsula campaign in 1696. The Cape Shore was largely uninhabited until the late 18th century, when Placentia merchants Saunders and Sweetman began bringing settlers here from an area around Waterford, Ireland. The river valleys of the Cape Shore are fertile lands, suitable for small-scale farming, a rarity in Newfoundland. Communities like St. Bride's and Angels Cove were originally settled as farming communities, not fishing communities like most settlements in Newfoundland. To this day, commercial sheep, dairy, and vegetable farms are still in operation on the Cape Shore. As we ride down the coast, we arrive at the entrance to Cape St. Mary's Ecological Reserve. This wildlife reserve is located near Cape St. Mary's and is home to one of Newfoundland's largest seabird colonies. The single-lane road to the reserve travels over beautiful barren lands, where the grass sways in the gentle breeze and the tuckamore is the only tree that you will find. The 10-kilometer road leads to the Interpretation Center and Lighthouse, and it is from here that we take our short hike to the reserve. It is estimated that more than 100,000 birds migrate here annually. Species include northern gannets, black-legged kittiwakes, common murres, and thick-billed murres, as well as razorbill and black guillemot breeding pairs. The ocean waters off the reserve also provide a winter habitat for harlequin ducks, common eiders, scooters, and long-tailed ducks. In addition to the numerous birds, humpback whales may be viewed from the cliffs during the annual Capelin Run. At Bird Rock, you can witness the several thousand nesting gannets. Other nesting locations can also be viewed from shore. So as the sun sets on another fine day of riding and exploring, we ponder as to what tomorrow will bring, our final day on the Avalon Peninsula. The last section of the Avalon Peninsula that we'll be touring is the Irish Loop. This historic section is the heart of Newfoundland culture. Although its scenery is quite nice, it's the music and people of this area that make it such a special place. Some of Newfoundland's most popular traditional Irish music bands call the Irish Loop home. There's the Masterless Men,
the ground of my hometown, and hope to see no more.
Shanaganook,
Have another drink, boys, oh have one with me. We're home from the sea, yes, we're back on the shore, and if you gets too drunk, boys, in his company.
and the Irish Descendants.
Oh, me name it is Sam Hall, and I hate just one and all.
One of the many places that you should visit on the Irish Loop is Mistaken Point. It contains the oldest evidence known of early multicellular life on the planet. Here, fossils estimated at 560 to 575 million years old have been found in the rocks of two ecological reserves. 50 miles from St. John's is a settlement called Ferryland, another early English colony from 1621. But it has no resemblance whatsoever to the Maryland metropolis of Baltimore. Yet both were founded by members of the Calvert family, and their histories are firmly linked. This brings our motorcycle tour of the Avalon to an end. The appeal of this area of the province is largely tied to the past and early North American colonization by both the French and the English. It is rather humbling to think that it all started right here on this section of the rock.
Long ago, I went away. Times were hard back then to find a brighter day. Travel far, many places I've seen, but my home's the only place I long to be. Still recall my younger days, fun and chores we helped in every way. Lots to do back in those times, with the little that we had, made it through just fine. Take me back to my home. From her shores I promise never more to roam. Take my hand and walk with me. Let's take a stroll through my old memories. Sad to see times go by. Houses boarded up, now empty inside. So many dreams now are
Been years since I've been home, been way too long.